Welcome to Sidebar, where you vote on the internet's biggest buttholes. Am I the butthole for not allowing my wife to send our son away for what he said to her? 2 weeks ago, my wife's parents passed away in a car accident. Her father was 65 and her mother was 63. My wife has been completely devastated since. She is an only child and was extremely close to her parents. They were wonderful people and I also grieve their loss. The issue of this post stems from our son. Our son is 15 and has been pretty unempathetic to his mother. He is fairly introverted and started pulling away from his grandparents and us at 13 and now spends most of his time playing video games. He didn't react much to the news of their death. I have tried talking to him about it a few times, but he has told me that he didn't feel that close to them. I still have to go into work while my wife is on bereavement leave. Our son is doing 100% online learning and is also home all day. Since the accident, my wife and son have had several bad interactions. Examples: wife was crying in the bedroom and son barges in and asks when dinner is. Wife asks him to make himself something. He rolls his eyes and walks away. Wife set up online Zoom funeral with her aunt and cousins, her only remaining family, and asks son to attend. He gets on the call from his room but was on his phone the entire time and didn't wear a shirt. Wife asks if son would like anything from his grandparents' house as a memory. He loudly replies nope and walks away. The big incident came 2 days ago. I was at work when my wife called me sobbing. What happened is that she was in the living room playing some old videos with her parents when son comes in. He asks to use the TV to play a video game and she says to give her an hour. She then asks him to join her. His reply was, "Mom, I honestly don't give a crap. They were old and gonna die anyways, can you just get over it already?" She sent him to his room and called me. I talked to him about it when I got home and made him apologize, but it clearly was sincere. It upset my wife even more and she asked to speak with me that night. She told me that she is having a hard time grieving with them constantly sharing the same space and him being rude and dismissive of her. She proposed that he spend 2 weeks with my sister since they have a similarly aged son he is good friends with. She wants the 2 weeks to go through everything from their house, deal with the legal stuff, and really process her grief. I do understand where she is coming from, but I shut her down. I told her that it is unfair to send him away and that if she needs some time apart from him, she needs to be the one who goes. She argued that she needed my support through this and if she goes, she has no one. I told her I love son comes first. She slept in the guest bedroom that night and hasn't spoken to me since. I feel horrible and am second-guessing my decision. Was I the butthole here? Is OP a butthole? Here is what Reddit thinks. You're the butthole. Your wife lost both her parents at the same time and is suggesting the person disrespecting her grieving process go have a sleepover with a cousin. He is not exactly being punished here. She needs time to mourn and your son is not only ignoring her needs, he is being very cavalier about the death, making it harder for your wife. At 15, surely he must understand that it's hard to lose a family member? What has happened in his upbringing that this part didn't go through? You say your son comes first. What I don't get is, how is this a competition? You're feeling okay, son gets to go spend time with a cousin, or your wife gets to hear all about how her son doesn't give a shit about her parents or her. It's like comparing hitting your funny bone and having cardiac arrest. Sure, you can check out the damn elbow, but maybe the cardiac patient needs more help here. And BTW, I don't assume your son is okay. He is probably feeling very confused and has no clue how to handle it. You should probably get him some help. But from your title, I assume your wife was insulted by his attitude and wanted him out permanently. This is nothing. Let the woman grieve. Am I the butthole for saying my secret workout routine is depression? I, 25F, had a miscarriage in early January this year. I lost my mother to a completely unexpected heart attack in February. We used to be very close, and her death, coupled with the loss of my child, devastated me. I slipped into depression, developed anorexia, and lost a huge amount of weight in a very short time. I used to be 165 pounds and now I'm at 120 pounds. I attended my best friend's wedding yesterday. Tiny ceremony. It was the first social event I attended this year after my transformation. There was an acquaintance there who seemed enthralled by my body. She's very into fitness, but she's not someone I am particularly close, and she kept asking me about diet plans and said that she needed to know my secret workout routine for her clients. I politely deflected the questions at first and said something along the lines of I just was not in a good place, lost my appetite, and it just happened. But she kept pestering me and said I should help other people lose weight too. I lost my patience and told her that I actually developed an eating disorder and severe depression. I don't think your clients would like this routine. She made a face and left me alone for the day. I thought this would be the end of it. Turns out, after the celebrations were over, she went and complained to my best friend's husband. She's his sister and he called me and asked me to apologize for embarrassing his sister on his wedding. I've refused to apologize as of now and I'm not sure if I should. Am I the butthole for telling an acquaintance that my workout routine was depression? Is the poster a butthole or not? Reddit says, not the butthole. I thought it was becoming common knowledge that you don't comment or compliment someone on their weight unless you know them well enough to know how it happened. You tried to deflect nicely and she wouldn't stop. Honestly, if I was her, I would have realized what I did was out of line and apologized to you by now. Am I the butthole for yelling at my brother for cheating while he was finally accepting his sexuality? My brother, M30 and me, 38M, grew up in a very religious household. My father was all about good Christian family values and yet, ironically, he cheated my mom all the time and he expected for us to accept it. I hated his guts, but my brother always tried to please him, to have his approval. When he was a teen, we shared a desktop computer and he sometimes forgot to delete his browser history. I noticed he went many gay support sites, so I thought he might be into guys. I never asked because it was his choice to tell me when he was ready. And B, I didn't care. He was my brother and I love him. I understood why he would keep it quiet though. If he came out when we were living with our father, I knew **** would hit the fan. Years passed, and he didn't came out even after losing contact with our dad. I thought that maybe he was just exploring his sexuality back then, or he was bi or whatever because he got a GF and married her 5 years ago. This girl, let's call her Julie, is an angel. She got along with everyone and she became fast friends with my wife, who sees her as her little sister of sorts. I owe her a lot because she was instrumental into making my wife accept she needed help after going through a terrible postpartum depression. Fast forward to this week. Julie calls us sobbing and tells us my brother is cheating on her and that his lover is a male friend of his from work. This has been going on since 3 years ago or so. I went ballistic and I called him. I told him he was doing the same thing to Julie as our father did to our mom. My brother then tells me he was struggling with accepting he was gay all this time, and that I should be more understanding. He accused me that I was so mad because he was gay and implied I was low-key discriminating him. I told him that cheating is cheating and that Julie doesn't deserve this. We haven't talked in days and I am starting to feel guilty. Maybe I should have been more tactful. I don't know. I just feel that cheating doesn't have a free pass at all. People in Reddit, am I the butthole? Is OP a butthole? Reddit has a clear verdict. Not the butthole. My uncle did this to my aunt. Once they separated, he moved his boyfriend into the house they were still sharing because my uncle's spending had made them land rich and money poor. My uncle is a butthole. Not because he's gay, but because he cheated on his wife for years instead of filing for divorce and expected everyone to be cool with it because he was finally embracing his sexuality. Am I the butthole for serving a pregnant woman a non-alcoholic cocktail? I have waited tables for the last 3 years. During my shift last night, a group of 4 women in their late 20s came in. They were a pleasure to have as customers. They ordered 4 of our house cocktails to start with and then went over the menu for their entrees. When I was on my way back to their booth with the drinks on a tray, I walked by the backside and overheard one of them talking about how she was 14 weeks along. When I rounded back, they were talking about the same topic and it was clear to me that she was pregnant. I figured her having 1 drink was the big deal. They ordered their entrees and I went off to handle other tables. About 5 minutes later, they called me over again and asked for another round. At this point I started getting concerned, but I took the order and cheerfully said I'd be right back. This time, I went to the bartender and asked him to make one of them a virgin cocktail. He was confused, but since he's a good friend of mine, I told him to just trust me. A few cocktails later, for strictly virgin, they started getting rowdy, and Mrs. Pregnant Woman was also getting into it. I figured that since she didn't notice, things were okay. The problem came when I took them their check, and they asked to split the bill at the register. When Mrs. Pregnant Woman got to the counter, I saw her cocktails were marked with virgin. My bartender had edited each in the system for inventory. It was too late for me to edit them back, so I just had her pay, hoping that she wouldn't look at the receipt. They all thanked me and left, leaving a generous tip in the process. They were talking in the parking lot for the next short while, presumably waiting for an Uber. Several minutes later, Mrs. Pregnant Woman came back and asked what virgin on the receipt meant. I fessed up that it meant non-alcoholic. She blank stared me for a few seconds and then asked if she had ordered a non-alcoholic cocktail. I said no, but told her that I assumed she wanted one seeing as she was pregnant. It was a lame lie and I'll admit it, but she looked me in the eye and asked me to return her part of the tip. I did so. Then she talked to my manager. My manager took me into her office and literally shrieked at me until hoarse. I stood my ground and told her that I'm not going to be responsible for FAS. She told me that she was taking me off the calendar until she decided what to do with me. She also informed me that I could get the restaurant in serious trouble for discrimination, and upon examination of my state's laws, she is correct. But when I talked to my mother and father about it tonight, they told me that they understood my position. The entire staff at the restaurant is against me and I think that I'm going to call in and tell my manager that I quit, but I still feel in the right here. I would like some perspective on this and if I'm the butthole here. Is the poster a butthole or not? Reddit says, "You're the butthole. Don't fuck with people's food in any capacity TBH." Finally, here's our headline story of the day. Am I the butthole for taking back the beer I bought for a party from which I was uninvited? On Thursday, a person I had a major crush on in high school, but who rejected me, messaged me out of the blue. She had never contacted me without my contacting her first, and at one point I realized she had me blocked on social media, and so I found it odd that she was suddenly being friendly. After sending a couple of greetings/questions about how I've been, she said that she was going to have some people over and wanted to know if I would get the beer. The drinking age where we are is 19, and she and the people who were going to chill were all 18. The liquor stores in my area all card. I thought it was silly that my being a month older meant I could buy liquor and they couldn't, and so I said I would love to go. She said thanks, I'll pick you up at 7. 7 o'clock rolled around, and she texted me to say she was in front of my house. I went out dressed and ready to chill with some people, and she drove me to the liquor store. When we got there, I asked what beer she wanted me to get, and she told me to get Budweiser. I hid my disappointment as well as I could, but it was her party so I went in and bought 2 cases of 24. I got back in the car and said let's party, and she was eerily quiet. I noticed that she wasn't driving towards her neighborhood, but rather back towards mine. I thought she had moved or something, but didn't want to press the issue. When she turned down my street I finally figured it out. She was being purposefully vague about the invitation because she wanted me to get the beer. But she wanted a way out when she told me I wasn't actually invited in the first place. She stopped in front of my house, leaned over, kissed me on the cheek, and said thanks. In her best voice, I dip in her and asked when she was going to tell me I wasn't invited. She feigned surprise and said that she never intended to invite me in the first place. I sat in silence for a long awkward minute, picked up the beer, and walked towards my front door. She got out of her car and frantically tried to re-invite me to the party. But I told her that what she did was the most humiliating thing that ever happened to me. I opened my front door, slammed it a bit too hard, and came back to my room. Now I'm sitting here drinking absolutely unpalatable pea water, and I have text messages from all of her friends and her asking me why I'm being such a dong. I don't think I'm the butthole for reacting the way I did, but if you haven't figured it out, I'm not amazing socially, so I'm not sure. Am I here? Is OP a butthole? Here is what Reddit thinks. Not the butthole. Blatantly. How did she expect this to go? You'd happily go buy her beer, then take it to the party, then leave. Without partying or drinking your beer? They have to all be a bit cracked in the head if they believe that was ever going to work. I'd take a Snapchat of me pouring that down a toilet before I ever gave it to them. I'm so sorry this happened to you. I hope you can move past what a nasty piece of work this girl, not woman, is. Now it's your time to vote on the buttholeness of the headline story. Is the poster a butthole? Let us hear your thoughts. Go to the pinned comment under this video. Please hit the thumbs up on the reply of YDA. You are the butthole if you think the OP could have been nicer. Or press thumbs up on the reply saying NTA. Not the butthole if you are on the same side as OP. Feel free to leave your opinion and reason why you voted for the option you did in the comments section. And join the discussion. For more buttholes, subscribe to Sidebar.